And the recording has started.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Nancy Esterles, PDC Chair, along with Vice Chair Alan Hayward, who is on the Teams meeting with us this morning. I'll call the January 30th, 2024 brief enforcement hearing docket to order. We have 8 or 9 cases on the docket this morning, depending on if there may be some requests for continuance. We have a brief amount of time for limited public comment this morning. There are 3 people signed up. Hopefully I'll call them in order. I'm going to hold everybody to 3 minutes because we are a little behind in getting started, and we do have a number of matters on the docket today. This is public comment, just so everyone's advised. It's public comment. This is not evidence that will be considered in any of these hearings. So I'll first turn to Connor Edwards. Tabitha, can you unmute Connor, please?
Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. And thanks, Tabitha. Thanks for rolling with me on the tech issues. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Hello, Chair Esterles. Today I'm asking you to use your authority under WAC 390 to refer these cases to the full commission for adjudication. In light of the significant and continued non-compliance and non-cooperation from these respondents, imposing a nominal wrist slap penalty of $1,000 or less would not be effective enforcement. And I wanted to start today by acknowledging that in most other neighboring states and on the federal level, it would not have taken a PDC complaint to bring these respondents to the attention of the commission. This is because most campaign finance authorities actively monitor candidate filings and fine candidates who fail to file by the deadline. It is time for the agency to adopt group enforcement for C3 and C4 reports, just like the agency does for F1 reports. At any rate, it appears that these respondents have all intentionally snubbed the authority of the PDC. Most of them have not paid penalties that were previously assessed against them. Most of them have not been willing to work with staff to address the violations. And it appears that the required reports have also still not been filed. The goal of effective enforcement should be twofold. First, impose a penalty that incentivizes that particular respondent not to break the law again. And second, impose a penalty that also incentivizes the entire filing community to not break that particular law. Imposing a penalty against these respondents for $1,000 or less sends exactly the wrong message to the regulated community. It sends the message that the PDC is not serious about noncompliance. It sends the message that you can go the entire campaign cycle without filing any of the required reports, and that the worst that the PDC will do, even when you don't cooperate, is make you pay $1,000, and even then you don't have to file the required reports. It sends the message that you don't have to respond to staff when they contact you in relation to a complaint filed against you. And that's what troubles me the most, I think. It's that the agency is seeking to impose a small, nominal fine on respondents who are refusing to cooperate with PDC staff and not comply with the law. When a respondent deliberately refuses to cooperate with the PDC, the agency should seek meaningful penalties to incentivize other respondents to collaborate with agency staff and cure the violation. Seeking only nominal fines against non-cooperative respondents creates precisely the wrong type of incentives for the regulated community. I will share my other fear, which is that out of the hundreds of filers this last cycle who engaged in fundamentally the same behavior with respect to refusing to file C3 and C4 reports, that these 6 filers are the only ones who are going to get fined. And I hope to God that I'm wrong, but I'm betting that these are the only ones who will get fined and that the rest will get warning letters, which have no deterrence value whatsoever and only signal to the regulated community what they can get away with, as noted by former PDC Commissioner Russ Lehman. But in closing, I am asking you again to use your authority under WAC 390 to refer these cases to the full commission for adjudication. Any penalty of $1,000 or under is not a meaningful deterrent for the type of noncompliance demonstrated by the respondents here. All 5 commissioners should have the right to weigh in on these cases to provide their insight on what an appropriate penalty should be. And I'll just real quick ask if someone on staff could note where the Alex Zimmerman complaint is at. I think that complaint is ready to be brought before the commission, but it seems like that's not happening for some reason. So I'm just trying to figure out why that complaint has not yet been brought to the commission. So if someone from staff could address that, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right, well, someone will probably have to deal with that after today's hearing. So Next up, Glenn Morgan.
Tabitha, have we?
Yeah, he should be able to unmute and turn his camera on. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. I got that working there. All right. Thank you. I don't usually comment on some of these enforcement hearings, but I'm going to probably try to change that moving forward just based on what I'm seeing here. My name's Glenn Morgan. I am the one who I'm the complainant in case number 121957, which is the Wade PAC complaint before this hearing at this point in time. And the reason why I'm making a comment here today really has more to do with the fact that my concern in this case, because I'm clearly on the record going back almost 8 years now on, I don't want to see excessive fines imposed on violators of the campaign finance laws, but also I think the fines need to be proportionate to the significance of the violations. In this specific case, compared to many of the other cases I filed, I'm really concerned that the cost of compliance that we're communicating to a large, well-funded PAC with professional attorneys and experienced people involved at all stages, that the cost of compliance greatly exceeds whatever minimal penalties they have for just completely not complying. And I will point out in this particular case, my initial complaint against this Wade PAC was relatively minor, but I had filed a records request with the PDC and was able to uncover a substantial series of significant concerns and violations based on the correspondence that this PAC had with staff. And I believe that I outlined both with evidence and methodically, pretty effectively in my supplemental complaints. And specifically the violations that greatly concern me, because these are quite significant. One is falsification of the officer list. Dr. Lynn French was clearly adamant that she had never agreed to be an officer of this committee, and yet for years she was represented as an officer or affiliated with this PAC. The former treasurer of this PAC quit, and the attorney kept filing documents under that treasurer's name for almost 7 months. And in the course of doing that, the correspondence between that former treasurer, who was a CPA and a professional, he indicated that there was an Act Blue account, which was also concealed from the public and from staff. Additionally, we're talking about a $25,000 in-kind contribution that was never explained or described, and in fact, not even revealed for years. And in addition, this was a sponsored committee for much of this time. They never identified that sponsorship, and also that they didn't even identify the initiatives in which they were involved in for years. So I think that my complaints speak for itself, but my concern is that because they've decided to ignore PDC staff, they've already been fined. The fine was just paid for by an in-kind contribution from one of their supporters. They've clearly decided that even bothering to talk to staff is more expensive than whatever minor fine that they're going to get. I don't usually do this, but I would recommend that this particular case be referred to the entire commission, because otherwise I fear that this sets a pattern of violations of the campaign finance laws by well-funded, large organizations that clearly have the ability to comply, who clearly have attorneys and they're professionals and they're well experienced, but they've decided that it's just better to keep everything in the dark because the penalties are so minimal. And it's clearly a significant issue. And I will point out, I had to expose most of this through records requests based on correspondence that these people already had sent to staff at the PDC.
Mr. Morgan, you're over
Yes.
time. Do you wrap it up?
And in closing, I would like to see the whole commission, if the board could review this case. I think it merits, otherwise it sends a really bad message. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Last up on public comment, Joe Kunstler.
Oops. Bear with me here. Oh. Okay, Mr. Kunstler, you should be able to unmute yourself and use your camera.
Good morning,
Perfect.
Joe Kunstler here. That's two hard acts to follow, but I will try to be brief. I've got my own timer, so make sure that you get your time back. But I'm testifying today, also asking that you refers to the whole commission. I think anyone who openly defies the PDC after outreach should face a $10,000 fine with $5,000 of that suspended for the first time. The second time, $100,000 with $50,000 suspended. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But you know something? The PDC is important. The PDC matters. And it's time for the PDC to stand up for itself against this ongoing tide of dark money. And I know it's hard for some people to hear both sides of them, but at some point there's a right and there's a wrong. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have a moral duty to share your campaign finances. I want to quote Timothy Snyder to you, who warned about attacks on our institutions. He wrote in his book on tyranny, the mistake is to assume that rulers who came to power through institutions cannot change or destroy those very institutions, even when that's exactly what they have announced they will do. ... Sometimes institutions are deprived of vitality and function, turn into a simulacrum of what they once were, so that they gird a new order rather than resist it. I think it's very important that a message be sent today that the maximum fines be handed out for the open defiance of the PDC, that the PDC does everything it can to get voluntary compliance and cooperation, and yet here we are. So I want to second everything Connor Edwards said, and I hope to have updates on Zimmerman's many cases before the PDC. He belongs in prison, quite frankly. Thank you for your public service.
You're
Nancy,
muted.
you are muted. Tabitha, Nancy appears to not be able to unmute herself.
I don't know how that happened, but I believe you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There we go.
Hmm.
Teams is not our friend today.
Yeah, the Teams bugs have not worked themselves out. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your public comment. Let's move on to the docket. The first case is Washington Against Discrimination Everywhere, also known as Wade, PDC case 121957. Presented by Eric.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Can you hear
Let's
me?
swear you in first, and
Sure.
then in accordance with Washington laws and court rules against perjury, do you swear from testimony you'll be giving today is the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. So I wanted to just bring to your attention that we did send an email to you about a request for continuance in this case, and I don't know how you want to proceed with that.
I did read that. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have anybody show up this morning for the hearing.
No,
And we need.
he's not here.
Yeah, we should accommodate this request because of someone's unavailability because of a death and some other medical issues. So probably, Kim, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but can we just continue this matter to our February PDC meeting? That would probably get it back on the docket more quickly.
Would you rather have it at the regular meeting? The full commission meeting?
Yeah, the
I
full
would.
commission meeting in February. Does that work?
Let me check to make sure that we can continue a hearing notice for a BAP to a full, otherwise we'll just renotice it.
One way or the other. I was just trying to save everyone a little time and let Eric go since this is the only matter that he has on the docket this morning.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'd
Chair.
like to
So-
give them the time, but put it in front of the full commission to accomplish two birds, one stone.
Yes, so if we have the ability to carry it to the February meeting, I think that would be best. That'd be my preference. But in any event, the matter's continued. It'll be more fully noted whenever the next document is.
Noted. Thank you.
All right, Eric, you're free to go, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Next, we have a number of cases presented by Alice Byman. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm actually getting an email from Mr. Sutton. He's not able to join. Tabitha, could you look at the ticket? It has his email and phone number in it. Ticket 146855.
Jordan
And-
or Colin, can you manage that, please? Thank you.
All right, let me swear you in so we can get started. In accordance with court rules and Washington's laws against perjury, do you swear that the testimony you'll be giving today is the truth?
I do.
All right. The first case, I think I have the correct docket.
One moment, Commissioner Isilis. We did have someone join that was not slated to join, so we would bump that one up to the top. And that is Miss Rose.
All right. And I don't, okay. You ready, Alice, on that one?
Yes, and please remember that this is my first one and I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into. So if I go into too much, please stop me and tell me you've heard enough.
Well, first of all, this is Katie Rose, PDC case 1444797. We've received all the memos and I know I've read them all. I'm assuming that Vice Chair Hayward has also read them in case he has any questions to ask. So just the salient facts, ma'am.
Okay, PDC staff alleged that Katie Rose, a candidate for Bellingham School District Position 2 in the 2023 election, violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file C3 reports and C4 reports disclosing contributions and expenditures undertaken as required by the full reporting option. Ms. Rose, according to the most recent Bellingham School District meeting minutes, was present at the January 9th meeting. She is a member of the school board currently. She, as noted in the memos, was under group enforcement last year. She has been a member of this. This is her second term on the school board, and she has filed F1 reports during her term. So is there any other information that you need at this time?
I just want to confirm whether there are any outstanding penalties that have yet to be paid.
Yes, in this case, as noted, Ms. Rose was assessed a penalty for failing to file the C1 report in 2023. She's not submitted any payments. She was also penalized in 2021, and those were actually sent to collections in 2021. The penalties that she was assessed in 2022 and 2023 will be submitted to collections in February, which is in next month somehow. So,
and what's the penalty range for this level of violation?
Well, you have some options there. This is Ms. Rose's first penalty for first allegation and first a complaint regarding C3 and C4 reports. Under the penalty schedule for a first violation of a C4 report is $150 and a first violation of C3 reports would be $150. However, under the WAC, you do have opportunities to look at the aggravating circumstances, including her failure to respond and the pay penalties that she was assessed in the past for violations of failing to file her F1 reports and C1 reports.
All right, thank you. Alan, do you have any questions for Alice?
No, not at this time. Thanks.
All right, Tabitha, can you unmute Miss Rose, please?
Yes. And Miss Rose, you should be able to unmute and turn your camera on if you'd like.
All right, I see you. Are we able to hear you? Miss Rose?
All right, I think I'm
Yes.
muted.
All right, let's swear you in first so you can respond to what Ms. Feynman has had to say. In accordance with court rules and Washington's laws against perjury, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today is the truth?
I do.
All right, what would you like to say in response?
Sorry. Having a lot of thoughts. To be clear, have no excuse. And I would like to be very clear that none of this was intentional, deliberate, or came from a place of lack of respect for what you do. I think what you do is so important. The initial fine, I was told that I would be notified by my understanding, I should say, was that I would be notified by collections of how to pay it, and I don't have any record of that. I do. This is very embarrassing to admit at a public hearing, but I have on my to-do list and have had on my to-do list since October to pay that fine. The C3 and C4, my reality is I just didn't realize that those hadn't been paid. The reality is that I'm a school board director, you know, the one of very few, I believe, unpaid elected positions. I don't have any fundraising. I don't have any support in managing any of these details. Excuse me. Sorry. The reality of email, hard to manage. The part of why I am so visibly upset today is I came home from Olympia yesterday to find the PDC packet, and that was my, oh my God, how did I let this happen moment. So I apologize for being so all over the place. I would just let you know that a $1,000 fine is not a minor fine for me. I am a single mom. I work for a nonprofit. I work 50 to 60 hours a week in addition to my school board service. So thank you.
All right, well, let me ask you a couple questions. The first issue is the fine that's already been imposed. It's been sent to collection.
Yes.
How about if you check in with Alice after this hearing is done? She has a number of other matters, so maybe early this afternoon get together with her. And Alice, could you give her the information so that she can contact the collection agency, or somebody get that information to Ms. Rose?
Yes, I don't think I would be the best person to do that, but we'll find somebody that can do that.
So we'll get you the information about that so you can address the payment of that fine. And the next issue is there are some missing reports, and you've acknowledged that you didn't file them.
Right.
So how soon do you think you could get them filed?
I will be able to file them today.
Okay. Because in my mind, the most important thing is getting the records filed.
Absolutely.
Because you are in office, and I realize that the job of a school board director is often thankless, but I appreciate you stepping up and doing that for your community. So you've testified that you'll speak with somebody from the staff to correct the outstanding fine. You'll get the missing reports filed. How about if I give you till close of business tomorrow? Because it looks like you might be at work. You can address that tomorrow. And I will find that there is a violation because you've acknowledged that the reports were not filed. And I will impose a $300 fine, but I'm going to suspend $200 of that if you get those reports filed by tomorrow afternoon. And commit no further violations going forward, because it sounds like you might enjoy being on the school board.
Most of the time, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that from a lot of school board members. Alan?
Yeah, if I could talk just for a moment to ask you, have you figured out what changes you need to make for, if you're going to stay like on the school board, there'll be more C3s and C4s and F1s and things to file. Have you figured out what caused them to be missed and what actions you need to take so that it doesn't happen again? Because the suspension of a fine and everything is contingent upon no problems in the future. And I want to make sure that you know why you had the problem you had and what steps you're prepared to take to not have it in the future.
Yes, thank you for that. That's such a great question. Excuse me. I came onto the school board in 2020, or my first meeting was in 2019, and then the world kind of exploded. My first term, it was kind of difficult to get my feet underneath me. So some of the steps that I've taken most recently, especially as I began the second term, was trying to strengthen the connections with my other school board members. So I now have a mentor to help me keep up to date on the ongoing process with those pieces. I've also re-engaged. I have ADHD, and so part of what my process has been to better manage that has been to re-engage a coach, going back over a to-do list. Earlier this morning, I have written out that check, so I'll work with Alice to figure out the best way to get those other fines paid and managed. But I have been taking those steps to better mitigate my condition, and also working more closely to stay on top of those pieces. So I've got the filing reports built into my to-do list, which I now review with another person. So those are the steps that I've taken.
Right. I would recommend that you work with a fellow commissioner or someone to have a strong treasurer that will push you into making sure reports are timely filed.
I appreciate that. And I think that this is one of the challenges of an unpaid
Right.
position, right? Back to it as a, the single parent working for a nonprofit organization. The reality is that I can't afford to engage a treasurer for my campaign. So as much as I would like to, and I think that would be incredibly beneficial.
Well, it sounds like you've thought about this and have an action plan going forward, which is most important if you decide you want to stay on the Bellingham school district. So, Alice, is that enough direction from me to resolve the matter involving Ms. Rose?
Yes, and before we get off, I just wanted to encourage Ms. Rose to review the information on our website regarding mini reporting. That may be something to write into your plan as you move forward.
Right, that's what it sounded like, is that I filed the wrong report initially, or I filed for the wrong piece initially. So.
And again, I will commend you and anyone else within earshot that the folks at our customer service desk are really very good, and they're there to help you. So if you have any questions about process, timing, going forward, any of those things, please use that resource. We get rave reviews about them all the time. All right.
Chair Isserlis, we did have our other person join, so that would be Mr. Sutton.
All right,
and
well, let's conclude the matter involving Ms. Rose. You are certainly free to hang up and connect back up with someone this afternoon after these hearings are over. We're scheduled to go to about 12:30. I'm not sure it'll take quite that long, but I wish you well. All right, Tabitha. Next matter. Mr. Sutton.
Yeah, that's also Alice.
All right.
And he
Go
should
ahead,
be able
Alice.
to unmute himself. I just want to check it because we've had so many problems. Okay, perfect.
Good morning.
So once they call on you, Mr. Sutton, you'll unmute and have access to your camera.
PDC in case 144801, alleged Joshua Sutton, a candidate for Cheney School District in 2003, violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file C3 reports and C4 reports. Mr. Sutton was a first-time candidate for office in 2023. He was not elected to the position. On August 18th, he was assessed a $500 penalty for failing to file a C1 report and an F1 report. However, Mr. Sutton filed the F1 report on October 5th, 2023, and filed his C1 report on January 29th, 2024. On November 3rd, PDC staff received the complaint. Mr. Sutton did reach out to me once he received the hearing notice for today's hearing. We talked a little bit about the fact that he did file his F1 report, and I'm sure Mr. Sutton will tell you more about some of the situation, and you did read his information that he submitted prior to this hearing. Do you have any other questions before Mr. Sutton comments?
I don't. Alan, do you have any?
No.
All right, Mr. Sutton, unmute. I'll swear you in and then we can hear your response.
Great.
Raise your right hand, unless you're driving. I see you're in a car. All right, as long as you're not moving, that we'll do this. In accordance
Sitting in a
with court
parking lot.
rules, in accordance with Washington court rules and Washington laws against perjury, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today is the truth?
Yes.
All right, how would you like to respond?
First of all, thank you for allowing me to be in here. I appreciate it and let me speak. Please keep your sense of humor because I have never done this before. And this is all new to me. I applied for, like I was telling Alice in our conversation, I'm new at this. I have no idea what's going on. I thought this was just a kind of a small county position. I went to the state's website, signed up, and thought I was good. I did not know that I needed to file certain things. I went back and made up an email address that I thought the state would know about at a later time. I went to that email address for when I was running for the position and had 0 emails. So I was like, okay, no call's a good call. My other email address, joshuasutton1515@gmail.com, currently has 217,000 emails on it. I simply use it because I am a cheap kind of father. I look for Nike and Adidas and soccer and golf discounts, and that's pretty much what I use the email address for. I went back when I did receive a statement saying that I owed. I went back and did a search under my email. There was one email with several attachments to it. I think a total of 3 from PNC in that 217,000 emails that I was not even looking for, and that is my fault. I went in and looked at it. At that time, I did call. During the campaign program, I knew I wasn't going to win my position. I had emergency brain surgery and had a 4.5-hour procedure done, which pretty much wrote my ticket that I am not going to be able to do the position. So not knowing anything about this, I moved on until I got a $500 bill. And so that is where I'm at. I want to apologize for what my wife terms as stupidness, that I kind of dropped this ball. I in no way was trying to not fill anything out or not do anything. I just had no idea what I was doing. So there it is. So that's it, I guess.
Okay, and we did see that you filed, what was filed late yesterday, Alice?
The C1.
C1, okay.
Yes,
Yes.
C1. And
Okay.
oh, one item I forgot to ask. The original penalty from the August hearing was also scheduled, as with the case of Miss Rose, was scheduled to go to collections February 7th. As of right now, we have requested that has been put on hold because Mr. Sutton reached out to us. So I just wanted to note that. So as moving forward, if you wanted to address
Okay.
that.
That makes it a little easier. So the first thing that we need to resolve is you have the outstanding fine from August 2023, Mr. Sutton.
Okay.
And because you mentioned that yourself, so you know about that one.
I know, yeah, when I talked to a gentleman, he said I had a fine. I said, what'd I get a fine for? And he's like, you didn't file your, I think Alice cleared it up. It was an F1 and a C1 or something like that. I said, okay, I'll go in and do it. So he showed me how to do it. I went in and I think I did the F1 and nothing else popped up like you need to complete this. So I thought I was good, not knowing what a C1 or F1 was. And so then I moved on. And then I received the bill for the 500, talked to Alice, and Alice is like, you did the F1, but you didn't do the C1. And I'm like, what in the world's a C1? You know, it's so that's I'm just a guy who screwed up. I had no idea what I was doing, and I apologize.
And I don't want to get you in any more trouble with your wife, because it sounds to me like
Oh,
she's already
good
put you in your
Lord,
place.
yeah. Yeah.
And also, just a FYI, as Mr. Sutton and I had discussed, he did file under full reporting. The deadline for mini reporting has long passed from last year's election cycle. So he would need at least one C4 report with a 0 balance on it if he didn't spend any money.
Okay, once again, here's the idiot, Alice. Please keep your sense of humor. Where in the world is the C4 reporting? I went in and did, I think, the C1 last night. I cannot find C4.
All right, well, this is what I'm going to do. So you keep your sense of humor too about this,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
you've been very forthcoming today, which we really appreciate. And didn't work out with the election, so we need to tidy up the paperwork to make sure that we treat everybody the same and try to get as much compliance as possible. So you've got the F1 and the C1 file. We still need a C3 and a C4. It sounds to me like your campaign didn't have much activity, so it shouldn't be terribly complicated to fill out. Did you raise any money?
Oh, good Lord, no.
All right, well, then
I didn't even know I had to.
All right, well, then that form will be real simple because it'll be 0.
Okay.
And if you didn't have any income, unless you had some expenses that you paid for on your own that need to be reported as in kind, the other form should be pretty easy to fill out too. So
And the staff can help you with that.
yeah, and the staff, the customer service folks can help you. If you can be near a computer while you're talking to them, they can show you exactly where to go to get these reports filed so that you'll be done with us.
Okay.
Unless
Thank you,
you
ma'am.
run again for office, and then this experience will come in very handy for you. So that
I promise
that
you I
have-
will not.
Okay.
I have no aspirations to do this.
I don't have any ability to undo the penalty from the previous matter because I think that was the one I did. But anyway, that just stands. You're going to have to figure out how to pay that to the PDC. Alice can help you offline with that because we've not sent it yet to collection, so that's helpful. You didn't file the forms on time, so we have to find a violation. And
Can I do community service, pick garbage up on the side of the road? Can
I
I
wish
watch my kids on a Friday night and let my wife go get her feet done? Is there anything like that? I'm just asking.
I wish we were that clever, but I don't think that we have the ability to do that. We have the ability to suspend portions of the fine if the paperwork is completed and filed on time, though. That's how we incentivize people to just get the forms done.
Yep.
Don't get in trouble anymore, and the fine will be reflective of the recognition that there was a violation.
Okay.
So too late to go back for mini reporting? Alice, did you say that?
Even if it wasn't going from full to mini, he would still need to file the 1 report. I think we would be okay. I think in past cases, even in, when there was money spent, we have allowed a 1 report, a 1 C4, which would in this case be what we would call the post general C4. So if you work with Mr. Scott Haley has reached out to Mr. Sutton, and so he knows the situation. So working with Scott would be your best bet. Calling Scott when you're near a computer and can do this, and he could walk you through filing that post general report, and that would, I believe, take care of all the reporting that he would need to do at this point.
All right.
So go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, we want to treat everyone equally and fairly, but I also don't have any concern about if we can do something to make some accommodation here, that we open up a wide gate to the future, because it would be like the brain surgery exception, and there wouldn't be that many people that would be seeking kind of relief. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to work this out.
Thank you.
So how soon do you think you could be in contact with the customer service folks, Mr. Sutton, and get these? They should be very simple to fill out.
Totally. I'm in a parking lot meeting with a client, and then I will fast track home and call.
All right. So I'm going to find that there is a violation. I'm going to impose a $200 fine. I'm going to suspend $150 of that if you get the remaining reports filed by a week from today.
Oh, wow.
Close of
Okay.
business a week from today.
Okay.
And don't commit any further violations in the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah, my wife won't let me. So, clarity on that, $250 plus the $50? No.
Well, you have the outstanding fine already that you're going to be in contact with Alice about.
Okay.
From last summer. I'm imposing a $200 fine and I'm suspending $150 of that if you get the remaining forms filed by a week from today.
Okay. I will get it done, and I appreciate your leniency. And thank you for your kind words, Alan. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You're free to go.
Great. Thank you. And you all have a great day. Alice, I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right.
And I believe that's all of our participants, so.
All right. Well, you flagged me, Tabitha, if you see somebody join that
Will do.
is unexpected. All right. Next up, Alice, is Edwin Buckley, PDC case number 144799.
On the rest of them, as was the first two, the allegations are the same. Do you want me to go through those again, or do you just want me to go through some additional information that may be different on each one?
Let's just, because we're making a record here, let's just make sure that we go through one by one.
Okay. We are at PDC case 144799 for Edwin Buckley. Edwin Buckley was a candidate for Lakewood Water and Sewer District in the 2023 election. PDC staff alleges Edwin Buckley violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file C3 reports and C4 reports in the 2023 election. Edwin Buckley was a first-time candidate for office in 2023. He was not elected to the position. In August of 2023, Buckley was assessed a $500 penalty for failing to file a C1 and F1 report. Mr. Buckley had responded to the fines, requesting to set up a payment plan. Staff had reached out to Mr. Buckley a number of times to follow up on that request, and to this date has not received a response. Mr. Buckley has also not filed his F1 or C1 report or submitted any payments. As with a number of the candidates who were assessed fines from the August 2023 enforcement hearing, those are scheduled to go to collections on February 7th, I believe.
And his fine from that hearing was $500?
Yes.
Okay.
And he still, to date, has not filed any of those reports.
And when was the last time anyone had any communication with him?
I believe the last communication was on December 4th.
And that was inquiring about the payment plan for the previous fine?
Yes. Mr. Buckley actually had reached out by phone, and I happened to be one in the office that spoke with him, and he had some confusion regarding the August and the current enforcement hearings, and I explained to him the difference and then followed up with those via email.
Okay. Well, I don't believe he's here today. If I'm incorrect on that, please let me know. Alan, do you have any questions for Alice?
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan. Do people from utility districts and water and sewer districts make any money? Or is it just a community service position?
I don't know. It might vary depending on the size of the districts.
Yeah, it's true. West Sound could be anywhere. All right, well, I will find that there is a violation for the failure to file C3 and C4 reports. We're on Buckley, right?
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Buckley unfortunately has some previous failures to file, plus an outstanding penalty of $500, which was imposed in August of 2023 for the missing C1 and F1 reports. I'm not sure what's going to take to get his attention, but I will impose another $500 fine. He hasn't showed up. He hasn't seemed to make much effort to address the previous penalty and reports. I'll suspend $300 of that if he gets all of the outstanding reports. That would be 4 of them filed by, give him till February 14th. It's a day that sticks out in February for me. February 14th, 2024, and that would include paying the current fine, the non-suspended portion of the current fine, and the previous fine that's outstanding from August of last year. And I don't know why he dropped off the radar, but not much more we can do except that. He did lose the election.
Chair Isserlis, can I just make one comment? Usually we tell them they have 30 days to comply with the order from the date that it's served. The order is not typically served in such a manner that the other deadlines would be noted effectively. So I just wanted to put that out there for you. You can have that wording in there if you want, but
All right,
that's not typical.
Let's go with the usual standard wording. I gave the first 2 folks the benefit of the doubt because they both said they would jump right on these missing reports and get them in a short order. So let's just stick with the standard language then.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. I appreciate being redirected all the time. Steer me off the rocks as often as you can. All right. Next matter is C. Skip Olmsted, PDC case 144803.
In PDC case 144803, PDC staff alleged that C. Skip Olmsted, a candidate for West Sound Utility District Water and Sewer Commissioner in the 2023 election, violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file monetary contribution C3 reports and summary full contribution and expenditure report C4 reports taken by a full reporter in the 2023 election. Olmsted, he was a first-time candidate in 2023 and was not elected to the position. Olmsted was assessed a $500 penalty in August of 2023 for failing to file a C1 and F1 report. And Mr. Olmsted has not submitted any payments or filed any of the outstanding reports.
Any questions, Alan?
No.
All right, I'm going to find for Mr. Olmsted that there is a violation. I'm going, like the previous person, I'm not sure what's going to get his attention, but I'm going to impose another $500 fine, suspend $300 of that. If he completes all the missing forms, the ones from the previous adjudication and the ones from today, pays the fine from the previous assessment, and completes all this within the time period that Tabitha suggested, 30 days from the order. And since he was an unsuccessful candidate, we may or may not see him again in the future.
I would hope that staff will keep track of these ones that we're doing this on. And if it turns out that all of them ignore it, just don't pay it or whatever, get free sent to collections and they resist collections, that's going to give us information about whether or not we should continue to do brief enforcement proceedings against them, or just, as has been suggested, bump them all straight to the commission, go for big fines and go for attorney general enforcement.
I did not mention, but this was also on the list to go to collections on February 7th. From the previous, from the
Yeah, that's
August.
Send it to collections and he'll, if he contacts you, advise him that he needs to make arrangements with the collection agency to pay that in order to keep the suspended portion of his fine. Otherwise, we'll add it to the list that we have. Grows. All right. That concludes Mr. Olmsted's matter. We've already handled Ms. Rose. Next, Jeffrey Samuelson, PDC case 144806.
In PDC case 144806, PDC staff alleged Jeffrey Samuelson, who also goes by Will Samuelson, a candidate for Goldendale School District in the 2023 election, violated RCW 17A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file C3 reports and C4 reports during the 2023 election. Samuelson was a first-time candidate in 2023 for the Goldendale School District. He was not elected to the position. Mr. Samuelson was part of our August group enforcement. However, Mr. Samuelson had filed his F1 report prior to August group enforcement. However, to date has not filed a C1 report. He was assessed a $250 penalty for failing to file the C1 report in August of 2023. To this date, Mr. Samuelson has not submitted any payment, filed his C1 report, or responded to the current enforcement proceedings.
No communication at all, right?
Not to this point.
All right. And the C1 report is still outstanding, correct? He filed the
Correct.
F1.
Correct.
Okay.
He actually had filed the F1 prior to the August to the August hearing. So he was only assessed the $250 penalty. That is part of the group going to collections in February.
Isn't there also a final C4 missing?
Yes, that is the current enforcement hearing is regarding the failure to file the C3 and C4 reports if they were required due to depending on amounts spent or raised.
Well, wouldn't this final C4 be required even if it was zero?
Yes, because
So
he was.
There's at least two reports missing.
Yes, a C1 and possibly a C4 and C3, but as we mentioned with Mr. Sutton, in these type of cases, it's typically we have the candidate file a final C4 report. In this case, I believe Mr. Samuelson's opponent, he had filed a C1, and actually his opponent did not file mini, he filed full for some reason, but reported $0, so would have most likely been a mini reporter.
Sounds like that one was a fair fight. So I will find that there's a violation for the failure to file the C3 and C4 reports.
And the C1?
The C1 was already penalized from last summer. He's already, he hasn't filed it, but I'm not gonna, he's already been fined for that. I will impose same $500 fine with 300 suspended if all the reports are filed within 30 days from the date of the order, and all outstanding fines, including the non-suspended portion of this, is filed, and he doesn't run for Goldendale School District or any other elected office in the next 4 years.
Just a point
Can
of
we do that?
clarification, it would be the, no further violations in the next 4 years, right? Not
Correct.
not
Just
running. Okay.
No, I
Yeah, I was
can't
gonna
ban
say,
him from running.
hope he-
But I said, I doubt that he will be, but no.
Yeah, okay. Just a clarification. Sorry about that.
That, that we need some rulemaking on that, Alan. If you
Yeah,
have an
right. I was
outstanding fine, you can't file.
I was gonna suggest you were going to the real edge of authority there.
Yeah, no, I wish I had that authority. All right. The last matter is Pat Stupka. Case number 144805.
In PDC case 144805, PDC staff alleges Kat Stupka, a candidate for Hawkinson School Board in the 2023 election, violated RCW 4217A 235 and 240 by failing to timely and accurately file C3 and C4 reports disclosing contributions and expenditures during the 2023 election. Kat Stupka was a first-time candidate for office in 2023 and ran unopposed to the Hawkinson School Board and was elected to the position. In August of 2023, Stupka was assessed a $500 penalty for failing to file a C1 and an F1 report. In the prior proceedings, Ms. Stupka had reached out and expressed regret at missing her hearing from July, where she was assessed that penalty. However, to this date has not responded to continued outreach from PDC staff. She's not submitted any payments or filed any reports. Based on the minutes of the January 8th Hawkinson School District meeting, Ms. Stupka was in attendance and participating as a school board member.
Where is the Hawkinson School District?
Down in the
Vancouver.
Vancouver, Clark County area.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Alan?
No,
Seems to be the day for water and sewer and school board people, so I will find that there's a violation. I'll assess a $500 penalty for failure to file C3 and C4. Suspend 300 of that if the forms are filed within 30 days from the date. Those two forms and the previous forms that aren't filed within 30 days, and the other outstanding penalty is paid. And no further violations in 4 years.
As noted, the previous penalties will be going to collections in February.
Let's be consistent on that. If they're on tap to go to collections, just indicate to folks when they call, if they're interested, that they need to cut their deal with the collection agency, not with us.
The only one that is not is Mr. Sutton, as he had reached out and noted that he would be taking care of that, and it would be reinstated going back to collections if he doesn't follow through with that.
Well, that he told us he'd do it by the end of business today, and I gave him a few more than that just so that hopefully we don't need to send that one on. I like to take people at their word. He seemed contrite, so. Any other matters to come?
well, I was just wondering, today it seemed like all of the cases there was a problem in the past that they had not filed a C1 or an F1 or something, and so we had a penalty and we're moving forward, and the C3, C4 stuff gets added to it. Where we have situations where somebody filed the C1 timely, filed the F1 timely, the only thing out there is they didn't file the final C4. Do we take actions on failure to file final C4s?
We do have cases pending on just that situation.
Okay, because that's been one of the criticisms and one of the concerns is that there can't be a filing that's required that does not generate action if it's not. There just can't be.
And I think it also reinforces, Kendra's team and their outreach to various groups about what the requirements are when you run for public office. Today's examples would be water and sewer districts and school boards. So the more we can push out information to those folks so they can help people that are running for office comply with the law would be a wonderful result. And I know Kendra has a really good training program that she told us about at our meeting last week, and hopefully that will bear some fruit. Anything else today?
Good job.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alice. Welcome back to the PDC.
And
Glad to have you.
if you'd like to adjourn, I can stop the recording.
Yes, this meeting is now adjourned at 11:35.